I'm Dave Mullins. I'm a podiatric surgeon and healthcare attorney in Northern California. I'm also the author of the book, How to Win Medicare Appeals, published by the American Bar Association. This podcast is based on that book, and this is episode number 4 of the podcast. Let's get started. What standard of proof applies to administrative law judge hearings? Supposedly, the preponderance of the evidence standard of proof applies. And what this means is that you should win if the administrative law judge thinks that your evidence favoring payment of the denied claim deserves a weighted value of 51% as opposed to the weighted value of 49% given by the ALJ to Medicare's evidence against payment. Is this preponderance of the evidence standard consistent with the information that we gave in the last episode, episode number 3? Yes, it is. We said the ALJ will decide in your favor if your answers to the 5 questions are objectively correct based on the evidence and are persuasive, meaning your arguments in favor of payment are stronger than Medicare's arguments against payment. Forgive me. We're going to do the 5 questions. 1. What was wrong with the patient? 2. Why did the problem require treatment? 3. Exactly what treatment was provided and why was that the best choice for that patient at that time? 4. How do you know that was the best choice? Meaning what authorities support what was done? And 5. How are Medicare's denial reasons wrongly applied? Or why should the Medicare payment policy that applies to your claim not be applied? I know many of you have now got the 5 down. Some of you don't. I promise you we're not going to do them that many more times. But we're going to do them enough times for you to get this. You need those 5 questions in your pocket. Will you ever win an administrative law judge decision by a simple 51 to 49% margin? Never. Never, ever. The Medicare Appeals Council is looking over the shoulders of the administrative law judges, and the ALJs do not want their decisions to be reversed by the Medicare Appeals Council. So, depending upon the complexity of appeal, and depending upon the bone versus cartilage content in the spine of the administrative law judge, you're going to have to prove that that claim should be paid by the clear and convincing standard of proof, meaning 75% to 25%, or sometimes even by the beyond a reasonable doubt standard of proof, 95% to 5%. You can find out more about this if you look at How to Win Medicare Appeals on page 123 at question and answer number 66. Let's skew the odds in your favor. What's the most important document in a Medicare appeal? The most important document is always the letter brief that you're going to send to the qualified independent contractor for the second level reconsideration appeal that answers the 5 essential questions. I'm going to cut you some slack here. We're not going to do those 5 questions now. What should your letter brief include? It should include a letter no longer than 3 pages and hopefully no longer than 2 pages for each denied code, explaining your arguments in favor of payment, stapled to all of the documents supporting your arguments in favor of payment. Who's the target audience for your letter brief? The target audience is always the administrative law judge, always the ALJ. But if the ALJ is the target audience, why am I telling you that you must send your letter brief to the qualified independent contractor for the second level reconsideration appeal? Because you have to. In 2005, Medicare changed the rules for Medicare appeals because, you guessed it, the providers were winning too many ALJ appeals. What was the most important rule change in 2005? As far as I'm concerned, the most important rule change was the fact that any evidence you want the ALJ to consider must be submitted to the qualified independent contractor for the second level reconsideration appeal. And any evidence you fail to submit to the QIC for the second level reconsideration appeal will not be considered by the ALJ at the third level of appeal. We've been talking about evidence now for a couple of episodes, but what evidence are we talking about? We're talking about copies of the documents that you copy from the patient's chart, including hard copies of clinical photographs of the patient, as well as copies of progress notes, lab, imaging, and procedure reports, as well as copies of peer-reviewed journal articles, textbook sections, and standard of care statements supporting payment of your denied claim. What's your strongest evidence in a Medicare appeal? I'm not going to tell you. We're going to wait till episode 8 for that answer. But you should be thinking about this. That's it for today. I'll see you in 1 week for the next episode.